So this is an offcut from the top of the Gypsy Caravan. This is where the roll top is on it, and obviously there's an edge between the sideboard and the roof. So I've got this piece of aluminium angle iron, and what I've done now is put it through the stretcher. So I'm going to show you the stretcher that I actually made. Obviously the stretcher and shrinker tool that I have were bought from Frost Restoration, and then I made the pedals myself. You can actually buy them, the pedals, but they're quite expensive. So I'll show you how I did it, and maybe it's something you might want to use. I've made it a multi-stand for many other things as well, and I'll show you how I did it. I'll show you how I bent that from a straight piece into where it is now. I need to make a couple of them, so without any further ado, I'll show you how I did it. So you can see this is a basic shrinker that's been bought, and as I said, I think this was from Frost Restoration. So I've got a shrinker here at this side and the stretcher on the other side. Now normally what happens is you put these in the vise, and then you have a handle, a screwed in handle here at the back, and you pull down on the handle or bang down on the handle, depending on how much radius you want or how much curvature you want. But it gets quite sore on the hand after a while. Now you can actually buy a system that has the pedal on it, but it's a very expensive way to go. The shrinkers and stretchers are not too bad if you're using them occasionally. If you're using them professionally, like in Retro Power or something, that's different, but we're not using it every day, so the cost you have to think about. So what I did was I actually made this linkage here, which goes down the back and onto a pedal, so I can actually press down here. I just made these springs up, and it works sufficiently to do it. So if you're using aluminium, for instance, you don't need as much pressure, because obviously aluminium's lighter, and in this case it is aluminium, so it's not a problem. And then obviously if you've got 1 mil or 1.5, 6, whatever it is, steel, you need to put a little bit more pressure in it. But I'll show you how it works, and you can see how quickly it's formed, particularly in aluminium. It's the same thing with an English wheel. Put aluminium in an English wheel, you can do it twice as quick. And aluminium in a shrink or a stretcher, twice as quick. But you have to be very careful that you don't over shrink it or over stretch it, because you will rip the material. So you've got to be a bit careful with it. So I'll show you how it works. So I'm starting approximately in the middle, and I just slowly pinch it. I put a bit more weight on it, and then just guide it along. It's as simple as that. And what it'll do is as I move it, it'll just put a curve into it. What it will also do though is put a slight twist in it, because it's aluminium. It's as simple as that. Now you can imagine banging that handle down every time. It would obviously be this way, and the handle goes in here, and you're pulling the handle down or banging it down with your palm of your hand. It gets quite sore after a while, so this is a very easy way of doing it. As I say, you just got to be a bit careful with aluminium, because and basically it's doing exactly what the name suggests. It's shrinking the metal, it's pushing it, the jaws are catching it on the outside and pushing it inwards. And there are many different companies that make these shrinkers. And obviously the harder you push, the deeper you're going to shove the dies into it. Just give you an idea on the end here. Unfortunately it's a bit long, this pipe, I'll push the dies out. Oh, brilliant. But anyway, there's a cock up on camera. But there you go, you can see the bend in it already. I don't know if that's going to show very well. But I'll pull the dies out, so I'll have to fix that before I show you the other side. So just to explain how they work, I won't let it go too far, but this is the block. And you can see there's two inverted V blocks there, and there this is the center line. So if I was to open it up a little bit, you can just see this is where the metal goes in the middle bit there. I don't know if you can just see it. So that's how it works. So there's 2 springs holding them apart, and then 2 V-blocks which push them together. And obviously they've got serrated faces, so they pull the metal or the aluminium, whatever it is you're using, in. And obviously the opposite would be if you're stretching it, it would clamp in the middle and push out. This one is clamping out and pulling in, so it's actually bunching the metal up, if you like. Okay, so I've popped it back in. What I'll do now is I'll carry on and just using the pedal and shrinking it. So what I'll do is just a little bit at a time. I get the shape really looks, but I don't want to overbend it, because if you overbend it, what happens is then you have to shrink it back, and this is when you will break or damage the material. Also, the more pressure you put on the face, the more damage you're going to get here. But you might need that pressure to get it to bend. So this is a perfect machine for making window surrounds. You know, 90-degree curve. I'll run that back through again, because I'll do it a bit harder this time. Okay, so you can see how that is now. You can see that this has got more of a curve to it here than it has here. That's more at the end, so I need to work on this piece here and get that more rounded. But to give you an idea, this is one as I say in good cookery programs, this is one I did earlier. This needs to be approximately the same profile. So you can now see the difference. So the one at the back is the one that's ready. Now this one is too flat here, so that area there I will more manipulate and get it right. But to give you an idea how it looks, this is the piece of aluminium angle that I bought. So there's the two comparisons. You can see how much the difference that is between that and that. It's exactly the same material, and I just, as I said, shrunk it. So it can be done with hand tools, but obviously it's easier with a stretcher. It's easier with any tools, I suppose, up to a certain extent, and obviously it can be done quicker, but it can be done with hand tools. And if you look on YouTube, there are sites where only hand tools are being used to manipulate steel to make repair sections or whatever, bend, stretch, make flanges, whatever, and it can all be done. It was in the early days, it was all done by hand, but they were craftsmen, real craftsmen. So like I said, there you go, there's a difference. That's one that's come off the shelf that I've just bought, and this is one that's finished, and the one I've got there I'll now tidy it up to get it to this stage. Now, the fortunate thing about this situation is this is the longest length I could get of aluminium, and it needs another 25 centimeters, so I'm going to have to use this third one that's straight to make it two 25 or 30 centimeter sections to go on the end, because they're not quite big enough to roll over the whole top of the roof of the Gypsy Caravan.